The global event for the Pokémon GO Wild Area is only a week away, and in this video I'm going to be covering everything you guys can be doing right now to get yourself ready for it. For those of you that have never played a GO Wild Area before, you're going to have an entire weekend, which means 16 hours of insane spawns, raids, and boosted shinies if you decide to purchase the ticket. Now you can definitely play this event for free, but I do strongly encourage you guys to actually buy the event ticket. This is the same for any major event in Pokemon Go, and that also includes the Go Tour and Go Fest. The major events just offer so many bonuses plus the increased shiny odds, and that's what actually makes these events just so much fun. Now there is going to be an event ticket plus a Go Pass, and honestly it can get kind of expensive, so we'll spend some time analyzing the value of each of these in a separate video, but typically just the event ticket by itself, it's worth its value due to the increased shiny odds and additional bonuses. Anyways though, aside from the paid tickets and passes, there are going to be a few premium items that I would also recommend stocking up on if you can. So first of all, we have incense. Now for ticket holders, you're going to get access to special unknown and mighty spawns on both days, and you're also going to have a small chance to encounter the lake spirits, Azelf, Uxie, and Mess Spirit. If you don't have access to the event ticket, you're not going to get these special incense spawns. So if you're going to be playing without the event ticket, there's no point actually running an incense because you're not going to get anything good. Now incense are going to last for 1 hour, which means you want to have a total of 8 to use per day to maximize your chances of getting additional shinies. You're also going to need to be walking in order to get a new spawn every minute from your incense. If you're stationary, you're only going to get a new spawn every 5 minutes. So it's a big difference. Now, if you plan on playing for 8 hours with minimal breaks, I would just drop all of your incense at the start of the event. That said though, for most players, I'd recommend dropping your incense in batches of 1 to 2. Realistically, most people probably aren't going to play for 8 hours straight, which is why I recommend this way instead. Next up, let's talk about lure modules. So once again, for ticket holders, lure modules are going to last for 2 hours long. Last year, this bonus was available to all players though, so it is a bit unfortunate to see them lock this behind the event ticket. There's probably going to be plenty of people who aren't going to be playing with the ticket, maybe they're just new or casual or whatever, and they're going to drop lure modules, but it sucks that they're not going to last this long. I really feel like this should have just been a bonus for every single player, regardless if they had the event ticket. That's my personal opinion though, obviously this is what it is, so either way, for those of you with the ticket, you guys should definitely be dropping these at your local grind spot throughout the day to help out your community, and then also to work on your Platinum Picnicker medal. You're going to get 1 point every time another player catches a Pokemon off your lure module, so in a popular grind spot, you can make some really great progress on this medal. And given that we have to get 50 Platinum medals for the level 80 requirement, there's a lot of people out there who need to work on this. Now I wouldn't necessarily recommend buying these from the shop, but if you do have some stockpiled from showcases, this is going to be a great time to use them. Personally, I have a ton of lure modules that I have built up from the referral program and then also from showcases, so I'm definitely going to drop them during this event to help out my community. Next up, let's talk about lucky eggs and star pieces. So overall, I don't actually recommend using these during the event when you're focused on wild spawns. But if you're going to lock in and do a few Gmax raids in a short time frame, it's 100% worth using both of them. The bonuses from doing Gmax raids are honestly so good, so if you plan on hitting at least like 2 to 3 of these consecutively within 30 minutes, you should definitely drop a start piece and maybe even a lucky egg. Next up, let's talk about incubators and super incubators. So ticket holders are going to get access to special 5-kilometer eggs during this event, in addition to 1/2 hatch distance. Non-ticket holders unfortunately get nothing, so don't even worry about incubators if you're not going to get the ticket. Now, I'm never one to really recommend hatching during events, and this isn't exactly one where I would either. In terms of 5-kilometer eggs, you can also get 2-kilometer eggs and 10-kilometer eggs. You're going to get them from spinning Pokestops. So you're probably not even going to get all 5-kilometer eggs as you're spinning Pokestops. Like, I would hope that they're weighted more on 5-kilometer eggs, given that that's going to be the special egg during this event, but in the past, that hasn't always been the case. So, you know, there is that aspect of it, and then we also have the shiny rates on eggs, which are typically pretty bad, and historically that has very much been the case, so take that for what you will. That being said though, if I had to go out of my way to buy incubators for this event, I probably wouldn't prioritize that. There's definitely better things to spend your PokeCoins on. Speaking of which, the next thing we're going to talk about is going to be the premium raid passes, or the green passes. So for non-ticket holders during this event, you're going to get access to 3 orange passes to use each day, and for ticket holders, you're going to get access to 6 orange passes to use each day, so 3 additional on each day, which is kind of nice. Now the focus this year is going to be Shadow Cresselia on Saturday and Shadow Darkrai on Sunday. There's also going to be a Costume Bee wear in 3-star raids. It's going to have a Wilderness Cape, and I guarantee there's going to be a ton of players who are going to be hunting that. Personally, for me though, I'm going to be focused on the big raids, and that's going to be Shadow Cresselia and Shadow Darkrai. So Cresselia is more PvP focused, whereas Darkrai is more raid focused. So if you want to raid either of them additionally for meta relevance past your free passes, then that is definitely what you should be considering. Of course, though, there's going to be plenty of collectors out there that want to be hunting these for their Shadow Shiny forms, and when it comes down to it, I'm personally going to be using some of my stashed green passes for Shadow Darkrai on Sunday. I would love to grab myself a Shadow Shiny. Now for players who might have other responsibilities during this weekend, there is going to be no limit on remote raid passes, and these are significantly more expensive than the green in-person passes, but they are far more convenient. And so you can use apps like PokeGenie to find quick raid lobbies, and overall during major events like this, it is much easier to join raids remotely opposed to hosting them. You could also join your friends' raids off your friends list. There's the RSVP feature now. There's a whole lot of ways to actually do remote raids much easier, and therefore I think when it comes down to the convenience factor, or just if you want to get as many raids in as possible, really just be proactive about it and you should be fine. The only downside to the remote raid passes is that you can't actually stockpile these past 3, so you're just gonna have to buy them more as you need them. There's no like bundle deals on the shop, which is kind of unfortunate because usually there is a bundle deal for the green raid passes. So overall, I think the convenience factor definitely makes these raid passes worth it during a big event like this. Just really depends on your goals. Now finally, the last thing we're going to talk about are going to be the max particle packs. So for non-ticket holders, you're going to get an increased MP collection limit of 1,600 per day, and ticket holders are going to get an increased collection limit of 3,200 per day. Now that said, if you want to raid Gmax Grimmsnarl harder for a chance at the shiny, you might want to check the shop either before the event or during the event for any deals on MP packs. Typically during events like this, there have always been good deals on MP, so I would definitely make sure to check that first before going and buying the MP packs individually. Now of course, keeping all that in mind, I think you're going to get plenty of Gmax Grimmsnarl done just with your free MP, or even if you have the event ticket, that's like quite a few, right? You're going to get 4, and then you could also stack the MP from the day before, you can do a few more like that, and so you're going to get at least like 6 to 7 minimum of these over the weekend. And if you don't get the shiny after that, you can then decide maybe if you want to keep doing more. I guarantee there's going to be plenty of people I know that are going to be doing these non-stop from Friday to Sunday. And so when it comes down to it, it really just depends on your goals. I think Gmax Grimmsnarl is awesome, and I'm definitely going to be considering using some of my PokeCoins to actually get some MP packs to maybe raid that a little bit more. So that pretty much concludes all the premium items I think you guys are going to want to have during this event. Again, like it really depends on your goals here. I think for the most part, raid passes and MP packs are going to be the number one thing you want to go into this event with. And then of course 16 incense if you're going to have the event ticket. Like the incense spawns are going to be crazy good during this event, so that's probably the cheapest thing you could actually get. If you have only like a limited amount of PokeCoins, 16 incense should definitely be a priority. The rest can go into raid passes or MP packs. Next up, let's go over the free items you guys want to have for this event. So first of all, let's start off with pineapple berries, and I'm going to recommend 25. This is like my typical recommendation for most of the major events, so probably something you guys have already heard before. Now, depending on your playstyle, you may want more or less of these. We are going to get the special bonus of 2 times catch candy if you guys actually have the event ticket, so that could be really good for certain Pokemon out there. Now, after playing through enough events, I've also realized that I'm usually more focused on quick catching, and that also means not really using berries to save time. The only time that I typically use pineapple berries is to get candy on like really rare Pokemon, which there are going to be a few featured during this event, and we'll spend some more time analyzing that in a separate video. But for the most part, I'm also spinning Pokestops throughout the day, and I usually end up with more pineapple berries than I actually start with. And so for an event with 16 hours of spawns, you're most likely going to get enough candy on everything from just quick catching alone if you're efficient. Therefore, pineapple berries can be useful, but it does take away from your grind time. Next up, we're going to have 25 nana berries. So you are going to encounter plenty of aggressive Pokemon throughout this event, especially the ones that you encounter through the incense. They typically are more difficult to catch. And so these nana berries are going to come in handy to make a Pokemon stop attacking if they're being kind of feisty. You could also use the adventure effect for Black Kurum, but we'll talk about that more later. Next up, we're going to talk about the most important berry to have during this event, and that's going to be golden raspberries. I'd recommend 50 plus, if not 100 plus, and even more if you can actually hold on to them. So these give you the best catch rate in the game combined with excellent curveball throws, and keeping these on hand for Pokemon with low catch rates can be really helpful. If you're going to be raiding throughout the day, you're also going to continue to restock them, but considering how difficult Shadow Pokemon can be to catch, and same with Gmax Pokemon, you might need more if you plan on doing a lot of these raids. Now, if you're unable to stock up on more golden raspberries, just replacing those with regular raspberries is going to be the next best thing. It's going to be a 1.5 times catch rate instead of a 2.5 times catch rate, so it is a significant difference, but you gotta do the best that you can. Next up, let's talk about silver pineapple berries. So these should be saved for the legendary Pokemon you want to farm candy on, and we only really have 2, right? We have Darkrai and Cresselia. These have a very close catch rate to golden raspberries, being a 1.8 times catch rate, but they're also going to have an increased candy rate compared to regular pineapple berries, being 2.33 times compared to 2 times. So personally speaking, I'm going to be using all my silver pineapple berries on every single dark ride that I encounter. I want to farm as much candy as possible so that I can actually power up my shadow dark ride, because that is going to cost a lot more than a regular dark ride. Next up, let's go over max potions and max revives. So I'd recommend about 100 each, and if you're planning on raiding with a big group, you can definitely use less of these and go into this event with less of them. But for smaller groups, you probably want to have more stockpiled, because you are going to faint out a lot quicker, especially during those shadow raids. Now, I've never actually recommended having as many of these as possible with previous major events in Pokemon Go, and that's because we're normally dealing with like regular legendary raids. We're not dealing with shadow legendary raids, which are completely different. Again, they're going to one-shot your Pokemon during the enraged phase, and therefore you're going to faint out quite often, even if your Pokemon are completely powered up. Now, for anybody who's having trouble getting max revives and max potions, or just regular potions and regular revives, spin more gym stops, especially ones that you've actually gotten the gold gym badges at. You're going to get more items from these. Next up, let's talk about Pokeballs, Ultra Balls, Great Balls, and for this event specifically, Safari Balls. So for Pokeballs, you want to have as many of these as possible if you're going to be using an auto catcher throughout the event. If you're going to be freehanding your throws for the most part, you want to have as many Ultra Balls as possible, because those are going to give you the best catch rate. Well, next to the Safari Balls, but those are going to be like a very specific use, and we'll talk about that in just a second here. So these take a long time to build up. Hopefully between the last Go Fest and this major event, you guys have been stockpiling your Ultra Balls. If you haven't, definitely make sure to prioritize them between now and when the Go Wild Area starts. You're going to want to have as many of these as possible. Now, if you aren't able to save as many Ultra Balls and you're going to be freehanding your throws for the most part, Great Balls are going to be the next best thing. But of course, as many Ultra Balls as possible is going to be the way to go. I personally think, if you can, 1,000 plus and ideally 1,500 plus is perfect for an event like this for the entire weekend. I think like 1,000 plus, I typically run through most of them by the end of day 1, if I'm being honest here, and therefore on day 2 I kind of struggle, so if I had 1,500, that would be solid. But we also have Safari Balls during this event, so let's talk about those right now. So last year we got access to Safari Balls for the very first time. These have a much higher catch rate compared to Ultra Balls, and they're especially useful on the mighty Pokemon that are exclusive to the Go Wild Area event. Now, unfortunately for non-ticket holders, you're only going to get access to 4 of these each day, in addition to any that you might pick up from spinning Pokestops, although it is a pretty low rate. Now, ticket holders last year were given 4 each hour if I remember correctly, which was a generous amount. That said though, these also expire at the end of the day, so they won't carry over to the following day, which means that you should ideally be using them throughout the day, but also keeping a few stockpiled in case you run into something super rare. And at the end of the event, during the Go Wild Area event last year, we had 15 minutes from 6 to 6:15 where a ton of mighty Pokemon were just spawning everywhere. And so I have to imagine that's probably going to happen again for this year's event, in which case all those extra Safari Balls that you ended up building up, you want to use those during those last 15 minutes. This is yet another reason why getting the ticket for this event is going to be worth it. Next up, let's talk about opening gifts every day leading up to this event. So this is the best way to passively collect Pokeballs and berries if you aren't able to go out and spin Pokestops. You can also get revives and potions this way too. I would highly recommend putting aside some time though to go and restock a few days before this event. You want to have as many Pokeballs as possible going into this. Even with all the prep that I do, I usually have to reserve some time after the first day to go restock my bag for day 2. For those of you that have access to more bag space, you probably don't need to worry about this, but for anybody who doesn't have that much bag space, definitely make sure to reserve some time to go restock before day 2. Following that, let's talk about Pokemon storage management. So for an event like this, I'd recommend a minimum of 200 open spots and ideally 1,000 plus if you can manage it. You don't want to spend a bunch of time during the event transferring Pokemon, and after playing multiple major events over many years, I can confidently say that this number is what you want to aim for. Now, I totally understand a lot of people probably won't be able to get to 1,000 open spots for this event, but if you can, you are going to have a very, very good experience playing throughout this event without having to worry about transferring anything. And for those of you guys that are actually struggling to make space, maybe you just have a bunch of Pokemon storage already, but you just don't know what to get rid of, I have a full storage management guide video that I would strongly recommend checking out. It is a long video, but I guarantee it will change the way you play this game in the long run. Look at the comments section. The comments section speaks for itself. One of the best investments you guys can make before this major event in Pokemon Go is going to be to watch that video. I really do think I have one of the best systems in the game. Next up, let's go over grinding PokeCoins from gyms. So it's not too late to actually go out there and stack yourself in a few gyms for some extra coins. I've been proactive about this for the last few months, ever since the end of the Go Fest event, and so I've accumulated a decent amount of coins. I've upgraded my storage and my backspace a few times, and currently I don't need to upgrade either of them more, so I might end up using my extra coins and MP packs for Grimmsnarl. I do also want to highlight that there's probably going to be some good box deals leading up to this event, so keep an eye on the in-game shop for any potential deals. The next thing I want to talk about is actually putting aside some money for PokeCoins. So for those of you that aren't free to play, or maybe you're mostly free to play, I would strongly recommend putting aside some money from your paycheck to get some PokeCoins for this event. It can be as little as like $10 to $20, doesn't have to be like a crazy amount, but keep in mind, 16 hours of potential grind time gets pretty crazy, and before you know it, you're gonna have to go through and clear out your Pokemon storage, or you might even run out of Pokeballs. This can completely kill your momentum during a big event like this, and if you can accomplish all of this as a free-to-play player, even better. But don't be afraid to spend some money to make your life easier and less chaotic during a big event like this. If you're going to buy the event ticket especially, make sure to give yourself a decent amount of Pokemon storage and a decent amount of item bag space with Pokeballs ready to go. You will thank yourself later, trust me on that. And keep in mind, this is coming from somebody who has never spent any money on PokeCoins, so I'm telling you this right now, if you can do it without spending money on PokeCoins, even better, but don't be afraid to spend a little bit of money, it'll go a long way. Next up, let's talk about the fast catch trick and the circle lock method. So if you still haven't mastered either of these tricks, you want to practice these before this event to improve your catching speeds and efficiency. Normally it takes about 18 seconds to catch a Pokemon going through the full animation. That might be a little bit faster now because I just redid some of the animations. I think it goes a little bit quicker, but with the fast catch trick, you can do it in roughly 4 to 5 seconds. Now for the circle lock method, this is going to be a great way to consistently land excellent throws, which is super helpful when you're trying to catch legendary Pokemon from raid battles, and I'm looking at Darkrai and Cresselia here because they're going to be in their shadow forms, and those two are going to be feisty. Now you can actually avoid having to use the circle lock method if you're going to be using the adventure effect for Black Kyurem, which we're about to talk about in just a second, but I first want to talk about the adventure effect for Palkia Origin Form with Spatial Rend. So for ticket holders, you 100% want to be using this during this event for the increased radius on spawns. In simple terms, more spawns equals more shiny chances. If you have rare candy you aren't sure what to do with, dump it into Palkia Origin Form. And for non-ticket holders, it's not really worth using this as much since you won't have the additional shiny boost that ticket holders get, so I wouldn't worry about it. Now we also have the adventure effects for White Kyurem with Ice Burn and Black Kyurem with Freeze Shock. If you're having trouble catching the Shadow Legendary Pokemon or even G-Max Grimmsnarl, or even the Mighty Pokemon for that matter, and you have access to either of these adventure effects, again, White Kyurem is going to be Ice Burn, that's going to increase your catch rate by 1.5 times and slow down the target ring, and the adventure effect for Black Kyurem is going to increase your catch rate by 1.25 times and act as a permanent Nana Berry, which means the Pokemon will not attack you and they will not move around. So whenever I'm going to be focused on raid battles, I'm going to be using my Black Kyurem adventure effect just because it's going to make my life so much easier, and then when I'm focused on hunting down the wild spawns, I'm going to be using Palkia Origin Form. Next up though, let's talk about a really good bonus that we're going to get access to during this event, and that's going to be TM Frustration on our Shadow Pokemon. So if you have obtained any good Shadow Pokemon recently, make sure to throw them in a search tag so that you can quickly remove frustration on them during the start of this weekend. You really don't want to spend additional time going through your Pokemon storage and figuring this out later when you can just start preparing for this right now. Not to mention, December Community Day is also going to be around the corner, and you're going to be able to evolve over 20 different Pokemon to get their legacy movesets. Make sure to take advantage of this opportunity during this event. It is extremely important, especially because of December Com Day. Next up, I want to go over some IRL prep, and that's going to be for your travel bag. So of course, it's going to be a long day, guys. Make sure to pack snacks, make sure to burn water, stay hydrated. If it's going to be really warm, make sure to wear sunscreen. If it's going to be raining, bring an umbrella, bring the appropriate gear. External batteries are going to be really important. I recommend the Anchor brand. I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that. I just think it's pretty good. Have extra charging cables. Lightning plus USB-C is really good to have. I mean, depending on who you're playing with. Android typically uses USB-C. The newer iPhones use USB-C, but the older iPhones use Lightning cables. Auto catcher, extremely important. Either the Go Plus Plus or the Dual Catchmon are the two that I personally do recommend. Having extra auto catcher batteries. The Dual Catchmon uses AAA batteries, and I think the Go Plus Plus you can actually just charge via USB, so you can just charge it the night before. Overall though, you definitely want to make sure that you're prepped before day 1 and day 2, so let's talk about what you can do before day 1 to make sure that you're really ready for everything. So first of all, find a local group / players to play with, make plans with friends, decide who you're going to play with, where you're going to play, what you're going to do. You need to have a good game plan for a major event like this. Do not wait to figure it out during the event. Trust me, you will definitely regret it. And if you don't have a community, I would strongly recommend looking on Campfire for any local meetups, even if it is a decent ways away. Make the drive. Like, I'm telling you this right now, you're gonna have so much more fun if you play in a group during an event like this. Now on top of that, one of the most important things is getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep the night before minimum. you're going to be grinding for a long time, and this includes the next day as well. You're going to be tired after day 1, and so getting enough sleep before the first day is extremely important because you probably aren't going to get as much sleep before day 2. I'm just being real here, that's what always happens every single major event for me. Now, I would also recommend preparing a lunchbox with food and snacks, or maybe even bringing a cooler with water bottles. This is a more cost-effective approach opposed to eating out. But if you want to go out somewhere with your friends, then I would recommend mapping out which restaurants actually have a few Pokestops around them. This way you can actually drop some lure modules and keep passively grinding as you're actually eating lunch. Finally, make sure to set reminders/alarms to charge your devices, pack your bag the day before. It is so easy to forget one thing or another and then your whole day is messed up. Next up, let's go over what you want to do before day 2. So after playing roughly 8 hours of the event, you now need to start getting ready for the next day, which is going to be an even crazier day of grinding. The first thing you need to do is clean out your Pokemon storage. Figure out what you want to keep if you got good IVs and transfer everything else that is going to be non-relevant. Ideally, by the end of it, if you follow my method for organization in my storage management guide video, you should have 0 untagged Pokemon. Now, additionally, on top of that, if you have a friend that is willing to mirror trade some Pokemon with you, this is a great way to actually get rid of any Pokemon you plan on rerolling for better IVs. You can trade up to 100 Pokemon per day, and if you got the event ticket, you can do 6 special trades, so make sure to get all of those done if possible. Now, hopefully throughout the day, you are also spinning Pokestops along the way, and you won't have to restock your bag as much, but if you depleted your Pokeball supply, you're gonna have to spend at least about 1 to 2 hours restocking after the event before day 2. Trust me, this is extremely important. With that being said, that pretty much covers everything I feel like you guys need to know to get yourself ready for this event, though. If you have any more tips you would like to add personally, let us know in the comment section down below, and otherwise, if you guys actually need help managing your Pokemon storage, then check out this video next.